Hi there, I'm Shemaine. These are difficult times we're living in. And if you're wondering what's really going on in the world and how to stay positive in spite of all the craziness, well, you're in the right place. I'm so glad that you're here. Hi, I'm Shemaine, and I'm so glad that you're here. The other day I was sitting on my porch overlooking 100 acres of a cedar tree-lined hayfield where white-tailed deer, fallow deer, scimitar-horned oryx, black buck antelope, and aoudad graze on our small Texas ranch. In the pale blue sky, the sun was high and bright. No clouds or chemtrails in sight. It was one of those moments when I thought, wow, this is amazing. God is good. I'm healthy and safe. My family's healthy and safe. My dogs, Sadie, Coco, and Happy, are content and laying right at my feet, watching the wildlife feed in the field below us. Beyond this picturesque setting, however, there's a storm brewing, one that isn't visible to the naked or untrained eye. In the Bible, in Jeremiah 5:21, it says, "Hear this, you foolish and senseless people who have eyes but do not see, who have ears but do not hear." Some people are so consumed and distracted with daily activities that they don't see the beauty of or the beast. They don't see God's artistry, nor are they aware of the storm that's coming. Perhaps they've been misguided or even misled. Either way, they don't have eyes to see or ears to hear the impending doom that was predicted to us thousands of years ago. There's a war going on right now, and I'm not talking about Ukraine. The Bible tells us that there is a war of good versus evil. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. That's from Ephesians 6:12. Recently, I was talking with a young millennial friend. Let's call her Terry. And Terry had been raised in a Democratic home. Her parents despised President Trump, and they wanted Hillary Clinton to be elected leader of these great United States. Terry, who is in her mid-20s, recently started scrolling through patriotic posts on social media, Instagram, and she had some questions. Did Hillary Clinton really spy on President Trump? What's on Hunter Biden's laptop that everybody's so upset about? Is pedophilia really prominent? Well, I had some answers. But more importantly, I had questions for Terry. I asked if her parents ever discussed Hillary's qualifications for being president or why they thought she would make a good president. No, Terry replied, it's just because Hillary is a woman, I think. Now, Terry had become more comfortable and honest with this discussion that we were having, and I inquired about her parents' reasoning for hating Donald Trump. And she literally did this. Her shoulders shrugged, and she had kind of a bewildered look on her face. And she said, no reason, really, just that he seemed arrogant. For the next 30 minutes, Terry and I had a calm discussion about politics, and I explained a few of President Trump's accomplishments. Now, while he's not perfect, and he's made some mistakes, some big ones, the 45th President of the United States brought peace to the Middle East, initiating the Abraham Accord peace agreement. And not only that, he boosted America's energy independence. And how can we forget? He started to build a wall to prevent illegal immigrants from coming across our southern border. President Trump proposed a $500 billion platinum plan aiding African Americans. And this one I love. Donald Trump was the first president to enter North Korea's dangerous demilitarized zone alongside North Korea's Kim Jong-un. But Rather than criticizing President Biden and the travesties he's had during his first year as president, I took a different approach. I chose to allow Terry to consider the information that I presented. And it was like I could see the motors running. Her eyebrows furrowed slightly, and she revealed that she was kind of digesting a completely different scenario than one that she had been told while she was growing up. I could have recounted the fact that Joe Biden left American citizens, interpreters, and allies behind in Afghanistan, along with $80 billion worth of military equipment. Or I could have told Terry that since Joe Biden became president, millions of our people have invaded our country who are unvaccinated and unvetted, many of whom are on the terrorist watch list. They're involved in gangs, drugs, and human trafficking. On his first day as president, Biden canceled the Keystone XL pipeline, eliminating more than 10,000 jobs, billions of dollars in wages, and revenues for the surrounding communities. He flagrantly discarded America's energy independence. And under the Trump administration, that would have brought hundreds of thousands of barrels of oil into America daily. Yeah, I could have told Terry about all of that, and I could have asked her how she or her parents would have felt if there was even a hint of a rumor that one of the Trump children had received millions of dollars from a Russian oligarch, or if there was a sex tape of them smoking crack with a hooker. Instead, I encouraged Terry to do her own research. As the Bible predicts, these are truly confusing and harrowing times. What was once right is now wrong. It's A-OK for genetic males to compete in women's sports or to spend the night in a dorm room with your 5th grade daughter at a school-sanctioned science camp sleepover. But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power, having nothing to do with such people. This is 2 Timothy 3, verses 1 through 5. Gas prices are gouging our wallets. Crime is on the rise. And a pastor in Canada was arrested for praying with truckers. Mainstream media showed live video footage of rioters destroying property and burning buildings, calling it a mostly peaceful protest. On the January 6th event, we all know what happened. United States citizens were welcomed into the Capitol by uniformed police officers, but later they were thrown in jail. No wonder Terry is confused. But don't be confused. This is war, and it's a spiritual war of good versus evil. We have the opportunity and the obligation to awaken others. Not everyone has eyes to see what's really happening in this world or in the heavenly realms. In Ephesians 5:14, the Apostle Paul wrote, "Awake, you who are asleep, arise from the dead, and Christ will give you light." The cedar trees were now waving in the increasing wind, and within a short time, the skies had just become dark and gloomy when I was sitting on that balcony. A storm is approaching. The wildlife on that once bleak field where they were grazing behind my house are long gone. My dogs have now grown restless, as if they have something to say. Animals can often sense an increase in barometric pressure. My dog Sadie nudges my leg and she whines, as if to say, "Awake, O sleeper, awake." I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Please share it with a friend. You can catch up with me on all of my social media. check out my documentary, Killer House, about my experience with toxic mold and how we lost our home that was once featured on MTV Cribs and our health, completely lost our health. I wanted to share that information with you. And because of all that, I created an online community called Wildly Well. Check it out. I hope you'll join me.